Hi y'all, my Ali Pallies, and thanks so much for tuning in today. Now, today what I thought I would do is Jack's out, so I've got some peace and quiet. I am going to have a rest soon, but you know me, I can't sit still for too long. So I'm sitting still doing my makeup. That's what I want to do. And I thought what I could do is to demonstrate to you what I was saying about this foundation idea, and then complete the look. Okay, so I found that foundation buried under a load of newspapers that my other half was reading. So there it is. It's still only got a tiny bit left, so I haven't wasted my money. And what I thought I would do is I'm going to put on half of my face with the foundation first of all, and then I'm going to powder a quarter of it so that you can see what I'm talking about. Then finish that off, and I'm going to do a look, and I fancy using Star Gold today and maybe using it under Dreamgasm and doing a little bit of a different look with Dreamgasm. Try and get a slightly different look. Okay, so stay tuned. Okay, so what I'm going to use as a primer is strobe cream, because I got a sample. I've got loads of samples of this, and you know, this was one of my staple products. So back in the day, before I was doing this channel and before I got really into makeup as a massive hobby, as opposed to just liking makeup, I only had certain products. As I told you, there was like an Estee Lauder foundation for best, and I think I had a MAC foundation in a little compact that looks a bit like this powder that I used to use. There were certain staple items, and I think I used, that was one, and I used a liquid one by Bare Minerals, a liquid serum foundation. So there were certain things I used, and I used them up and I bought them again. I didn't have all these products around me, as I know a lot of other people didn't. And one of those products that I used almost daily was strobe cream, and that's what I'm going to put on it, because it just makes your skin glow, but not overly glow so that you look sweaty. It just makes your skin come alive. Now this is the original, and I think the original is now called Pink Light, but so it's got a slight pinkish undertone. So you put it on, and it's just what I used to love about it before I really started to get into analysis of lots of different things, is just basically you'd put it on, and if you felt a little bit under par, it just woke up your skin. And it's also a good primer. So that is my base. Now I'm going to go in with my NC35 foundation, and I'm going to put it on half of my face. Okay, and I'm going to do all this on speed dial. Okay, now I deliberately put a few layers on so that you could see what I was talking about. Because yesterday when I was telling you, I don't think you could see it because you didn't have my skin to compare it to. But if you look at this now, I'm going to take a photograph and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm so pleased because I've just seen that picture and it captures this beautifully. So you can see, hopefully from that picture, that the side of the face that I've put the foundation on looks a lot yellower than my natural skin tone. So I've got a yellow undertone, but it's nowhere near as yellow, which is what I was saying yesterday. And I know I'm repeating myself, but I wanted to do it so that you could actually see what I was talking about, because once you cover your entire face with foundation, you kind of forget what your skin looked like before you put it on. I do, and anybody watching me is bound to forget. So that is what I was talking about. So now I'm going to go in with, I'm going to put some concealer on first of all, the concealer that my eyes are watering, the concealer that she talked to me about. Now what she said is to put a layer of this, to use this foundation as a concealer first of all, and then layer the Studio Fix over the top. So I'm going to do that right now and just dab that around the area. And actually I'm going to take another photo once I've done this so that you can see me with the concealer on and what it looks like, and hopefully the postman won't knock at the door. So I'm just going to get the Studio Fix concealer as well. Okay, so now what's going to be interesting about this, even before I show you the powder, is that the Studio Fix concealer is NW. So under my eyes, you probably are going to see that it starts to look a bit more like this side of my face because it's got more pink. You can see more, you can definitely see more pink, I'm sure, in this side of my face than you can in that. So I'm now going to dot this over the top of that foundation under my eyes and a little dot over, and I'll just blend that in with my fingers. And I'll put that bit on speed dial. Okay, now I don't actually think you can see how that looks different to the NC, because I've got NC underneath it and the NW, but I'm going to take a photo in case the photograph captures it. Okay, I don't think the camera captures the NW in the concealer, but I'm certain that it's going to capture it when I start putting powder on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to powder down to here so that you can see what my skin looks like in real life, what my skin looks like with just NC, and what my skin looks like with NC and NW powder over the top. And hopefully this is going to show you visually what it does. Okay, so all the way from here just down to where my nose ends, I'm going to put NW25 powder, and I'll do that on speed dial. Now, I don't know if you can see that. It's still got a yellow undertone and is not as pink as the unfoundation side, but it's bringing it closer to what my skin tone would be if it was one uniform colour and uniformed out. And then I've still got underneath there just the foundation. So I'm now going to complete and just do the rest of that side of my face, because I don't know whether you can capture. I'll do a photo just to make sure. I'm not sure whether you're picking up the difference between that and that right now, but if I do a photo, then maybe you can see it. Okay, so I'm going to finish off by powdering the rest of my face, and I've got one of those hairs. I can't wait to do it because I've got one of those hairs tickling my face right next to my nose again. I think now you can see how it's gradually taking some of that yellowness away and making it look more similar to this side of my face. So I'll take one more picture and then I'll do the rest of my face and I'll be right back. Okay, that's me all done. Now, she said to me, don't worry about having bought the NW30, which was too dark, because then what you can do, and I thought this was a really good tip, is to use the slightly darker shade as a subtle bronzer around the periphery of my face. And again, that will take some of the yellowness off. Can you see how, again, it's just adding a little bit more pink? And I might just do a subtle nose contour with it as well. But it actually is very nice as a subtle bronzer. And yet it's a setting powder. But just because it's a setting powder doesn't mean you can't bronze with it. And why is that? Because pigment is pigment. And so you can actually use these powder foundations. If you go a couple of shades too dark, you can use them as a bronzer. So that, I'm going to take a picture of that now that I've done my base, and I'll be right back. Okay, so Elizabeth on Instagram, Elizabeth Spencer, she messaged me this morning and asked if I could swatch some, one of the Eyes to Mesmerise Charlotte Tilbury. So I had my Eyes to Mesmerise bag out with my Eyes to Mesmerise in it. And I thought, ooh, star gold, I want to use that. So I even got dressed so I'd match my eye makeup. And I'm going to put some of that on with my fingers. Now this has just been re-released. If you're interested in it, it was re-released as part of the GRWM collection, but originally it was released last year in June, and it was released with Exaggerise and Transformise as part of that collection. So if you're interested in it, you can get it again. So this is more of an orangey gold than Bet, which is more of a yellowy gold. So it's a lot warmer. And these look really flattering, I think, on older lids because they have vitamin E in the formula and they're cream. So they just, if you've got crepey lids and you just stop at that and you just use the Eyes to Mesmerise on their own, they look really nice on the lids. I'm just going to get a liner brush or a smudge brush so I can smudge some underneath. Okay, so I'm going to use this smudge brush, which is Daniel's. 1, because I love it. 2, because I love him. And 3, because I find it a lot easier to pick up a cream shadow with this brush than I do with Charlotte's smudge brush. Charlotte's smudge brush is domed in the middle and you dip it in and sometimes it just doesn't stick, and then you pick up a huge blob of it and put too much on, whereas you can control the amount that you pick up with Daniel's brush. So I'm just going to put that underneath. And this brush was £5 in the sale. Okay, so it's really eye brightening. And then I'm going to use the Dreamgasm palette again. But this time I'm going to introduce a little bit of a variation. Now, in order to achieve this look, you need the palette, of course, the Dreamgasm palette. And you either need one of the two Glowgasm palettes. So either Glowgasm or Lovegasm. I'm mixing up my gasms again. I mean either Lightgasm or Lovegasm palettes. Doesn't matter which one. Or Film Star Bronze and Glow. Okay, and I'm going to explain more in a minute. But first of all, I'm just going to set that Star Gold with this enhanced shade here, because that matches it perfectly. So I'm just going to put that over the top. And in fact, what I will do is I'll put it there on the inner corner and the outer corner, and I won't press as much in the middle, so that I can use the prime shade in the middle to highlight my lid. And then just go over the whole lot, because I want them to blend into one. So it's just a subtle highlight again. Right, do that on the other side. Okay, and you can actually go underneath if you want to set what you've done underneath with the eyes to mesmerise, but if not, don't worry, it set itself. I just like to avoid putting too much powder under my eyes. I haven't put, well, I have actually set my concealer today just to show you what I was showing, but otherwise I'd far rather leave powder away if I can. All right, now this idea was inspired by Wayne Goss, because I went and looked at his review of the Dreamgasm palette. But it is actually something that I do quite a lot when I'm in a hurry. Probably not as much on here because I've got time, but I think I have shown it you before. So basically, the reason I said that you need this palette, well, either one of the Lovegasm palettes or Film Star Bronze and Glow, is because all the bronzers are matte bronzers. So if you've got a hooded lid and you really don't want to go near the hood of your eye or the crease of your eye with anything that's got a bit of shimmer in it, and then you're a bit stuck with this palette because this has got shimmer in it. Now, I found that it didn't accentuate my hoods too much. I think the reason for this is that this shade isn't completely shimmery. It's more like one of those satin shades that you saw in the Icon palette. So it's got a sheen to it, but it's not shimmery. But it's just another way to use this palette if the fact that there is no matte shades in this puts you off. Okay, so I thought, let me show you that. So I'm going to take, I've got Lovegasm, so this is the darker palette. As I said, you can equally use the lighter palette. It's a great transition shade. And I'm just going to take the bronzer, which is a matte bronzer, and I'm going to use that in the crease. Now, often when I'm in a hurry and I'm using bronzer in the socket of my eyes, I will just take my finger like this and I'll just press it where I can feel the socket. So if you're in a hurry, it's a really easy way of putting on your eye makeup. Or if you struggle as some of you do with brushes, just literally dab it round where you feel that bone going in at the bottom, and you've got your socket shade. And then just take a little line up at the side to lift your eyes. And if you want, let me just show you this. I said I wasn't going to put powder, but I can change my mind. You can then take your pinky and do the same underneath to just give you a very subtle line under your eye. And you can also use it to line the top of your eye if you want. That is going to be very subtle though. And what Wayne was saying, again, I've said this in the past, is the beauty of doing that is then if you use that bronzer on your face, it brings the look together. So I'm going to use a highlight from this. You could use a highlight from the Dreamgasm palette. They don't call it the highlight, they call it the prime shade. Now that's got a little bit more pink in it. This one's got a bit more gold in it. So I think the highlight would look nice as a change. So actually that highlight might work better in the centre there because it's got a bit more yellow undertone to it. Yes, it does. The other one was too pink. I didn't like it as much. That fits in a bit more, blends in a bit more with that shadow. And then I'm just using my finger now. I'm just going to put some of that up there under my brow. And then with my pinky, just put some in there. So it's a way. Now, if you, obviously that's still not intensified in the corner. If you want to intensify the darker shade, as I often do, just get a smaller brush, a more condensed brush like this. And then with the bronzing shade, just pat it in at the side and gradually build up that shade in the corner. And it will give you, you will have to build it up a bit because they're not as pigmented as eyeshadows. But the smaller the brush, the more intense that side area will be. And you can just build it up as I'm doing here. Okay. And I'm just going to get some liner. Now, as you can see, I've got a bit of blue in my top, as well as a bit of brown, as well as a bit of pink. And blue goes really well with brown as a contrasting colour. So I'm going to use Daniel's blue liner to line my eyes today. It won't look really blue because it's not a light blue, but it will just make your eyes pop a little bit more. So I'll put that on and I'll be right back. Okay, so that's a blue liner. I also tight lined it underneath my eyes, and I'm going to use the Faux Whites touch of pink. I've forgotten what they call the pink one. Seashell. I love these, and I think you'll notice I used the green one yesterday. I've used these so much since I got them that they're just out permanently with my brushes. They just last so long, and that green lasted all day. I even fell asleep and woke up and it was still in my waterline, my lower waterline. So I can't recommend them enough, and they're about £6. I just want to get the blue one now, the one with a touch of blue. But I haven't got the blue one, so I'm going to use the pink one, the one with a touch of pink. Okay, I'm going to do some mascara, and I'll be right back to show you what I did with my brows yesterday. Okay, and just for fun, I used YSL mascara, the volume effect on my lashes, but on the bottom ones, I used the blue one just to emphasize the blue a little bit. Now, I'm just going to brush my eyebrows through. This is an Anastasia Beverly Hills brush, which I got about 3 years ago with my Dip Brow Pomade which is still usable and not gone off and not hard, by the way. And then I just brushed through my brows, and then I used a little bit of Legendary Brows. I didn't go for the Anastasia brow yesterday because I was meeting Pixie Woods, and I know they don't like drawn in brows. They like more subtle brows, and I know they're not wearing them, but I thought I'm going to do Charlotte Tilbury instead. So I just comb through really quickly. This is so easy to do. Any brush, mascara type brow product is easy to do, but the smaller the brush, the easier it is. And Charlotte's is tiny. And then I just went with the MAC Shape and Shade and used that to fill in any sparse areas. So I often get sparse areas here. And this one doesn't come in quite enough. This is quite sparse here. And that one never comes down far enough. So that'll do, I think. There's a little sparse bit there. And if you want to make sure they look nice and natural, whenever you finish putting your brow products through, just give them another brush through. It will stop them feeling crinkly, and it will make them look more natural and more like your hair, rather than something sticking your hairs down. Okay, now shall we use some Daniel Sandler blush? Let's do it. I've got an idea. Okay, we've done this once before, but not with the same colour. So if you've been watching me the last few weeks and you've been deciding that you want to get a blush, couldn't decide between Glowgasm, Lovegasm palette, Lightgasm palette, or one of Daniel Sandler blushes, or one of the wands, then here is a good thing. So if you went for Daniel Sandler and you ordered Passion, which I know a few of you are interested in, I'm going to mix that with Charlotte's original Beauty Light wand. Now, or you could do this with her Flawless filter. Either one would do, right? And you just mix some. It might have to be her Flawless filter, because otherwise I'm going to have to open, I think, this one is finally saying, you cannot get any more out of me, Ali. This is ridiculous now. Throw me in the bin. No, I will not, because I can still use you as a highlighter. But I will go and get Flawless filter. There's still enough to use as a highlighter, but not enough to do this. Okay, so I've got everything together, and I'm now going to make a blush and a highlight using a Charlotte Tilbury and Daniel Sandler combo. So first of all, I'm going to put some Flawless filter in shade 3 onto the back of my hand, like so, because I'm going to mix it. And then I'm going to shake some Passion watercolour blush. Now, you can get palettes to mix things. I've got a palette somewhere, but I always end up using the back of my hand because I can't be bothered to get the palette out. Obviously, if you're making up someone else, then you'd use a palette. But if you're making up yourself, why make more things to wash up? So I'm just going to put a little bit of Passion onto the centre of this watercolour, Flawless filter in shade 3. There you are, it's sitting in the middle, and I'm going to mix them together until I get a shade. Now this, to me, is very similar to Pinkgasm. And I'm going to dot that onto my cheeks to give me a nice peachy pink glow. Now, you might have to experiment, because I think I've got too much mixture of Flawless filter to blush for my skin tone. I need a little bit more pigment in that. So I'll add another drop. And then I think this will be perfect. Yes. And you'll notice I'm putting this over the top of powder. And because of the Flawless filter, it's made it slightly thicker, so it's not actually breaking down the powder. I think where you've got to be careful is if you're putting watercolour blushes on their own directly on top of powder, because it is very liquid and it might remove the powder. But because this is a bit thicker, it's allowing me to do it. Look at that, for a lovely glowy cheek with a bit of flush to it. Just get some there. Right, and then I'm going to mix some, and I'll be right back. I'm going to mix some with Elegance, the highlighter, and make myself a highlighter. So I'll be back in a second because you don't need to see me mixing. Okay, I've got my little mixture ready on my hand with some Elegance and Flawless filter in shade 3, or whatever shade you've got that suits your skin tone. And it also, if you're not used to putting on liquids and you're a bit scared, it just makes it a little bit easier to do and to blend in. I mean, Daniel's watercolour blushes are really easy to blend in anyway, but I know some people are a bit, oh, I've got a liquid sitting here on my hand and it's spilling. If you're a bit afraid, try this. And it works really well, and I can just go into all my usual places and dot that to add a little finishing touch. And a little bit in the middle, just a little bit, because I don't want to look sweaty, just glowy. A little bit on my upper lip. See? And then onto lipstick and we're done. Be right back. Okay, I'm certainly in the mood for mixing up brands as well as colours today. So I am going to use Pink Venus. And this is now got so short, I can only just about make out the writing on it that it is Pink Venus. But also Elizabeth asked me to swatch this morning. So I'm going to put this on first and then I'm going to mix my brands. Now, I often find that the watercolour blushes look really nice on the lips if you put them over a lipstick, but I've never put them over one of the lip cheats by Charlotte Tilbury. But I think that might work even better because the formula of a lip cheat is even stiffer, so it will hold on the liquid of the watercolour blush. So to bring all of this together, I'm going to take my passion back. My passion for Mr. Sandler. My passion blush, and I'm going to take it and put another drop on my hand, and I'm going to just dot that over Pink Venus Lip Cheat by Charlotte Tilbury. And it works beautifully. I love it. So today, that is my look. I hope you've enjoyed today. I'm now going off to put my feet up, enjoy some telly before Jack gets back from the cinema. have a great day, everyone. Have a great bank holiday weekend if you're in the UK. Not sure if you've got a bank holiday weekend in the US or Australia or anywhere else. But if you do, then have a great bank holiday weekend. If not, have a great weekend. And I'll see you all soon. Love you all, my Ali Pallies. Take care.